Good evening, everybody. I hope you're well, or good afternoon, as always in England. I'm a bit later than I was going to be today because for about the last 4 hours, all my little one has done is eat and eat and eat. He's obviously on a growth spurt. I can't really blame him for that. But I was determined I was going to go live today, so that's what I'm doing. So I wanted to talk to you about why Facebook ads don't have to be complicated, because it can really be like a really complex thing. Like if you're really expert in it, there are like a million things you can do. You can go like really deep into it, really complex, but it's also actually designed so that anyone can do it. For example, when you create a campaign, hey Mackie, when you create your campaigns, there is an option to go through what's called guided creation. So you don't actually have to know where all the bits are that you've got to do. It literally does it step by step with you. I often forget that's there because I never use it, but it's actually a really good tool. But I didn't want to talk about that today. I wanted to actually go over a few other things with you. So something I see really a lot, and I did a live about this recently, but not on the same side of it, but it was about people choosing the wrong objectives. So I just realised I'm sitting on an exercise ball, which I got from my pregnancy. So I just realised I'm sitting here bouncing in the camera. Like, yeah, I'm not just weird. I'm actually like on a bouncy ball. Right, yes. So people often choose the wrong objective. And I'm not talking about when I talk about strategy objectives, because I often say, don't look at the objective that you really want. It's often a different one that Facebook wants, which sounds really complicated. But it's actually not that complicated. It just means you have to look at where you are now, but in the online world, before you choose that objective, rather than just going in for what your business wants, which is the hard sale. But I'm not even talking about that in this case. So basically, all the different objective names that Facebook gives you the options to choose, you pretty much should always just pick the one that sounds like it's right for that job. So some people think that they might try and be clever and use a different one, like use one that sounds cheaper when they want to achieve something else. So for example, if you want to get people on your website, or if you want people to convert, they might choose an objective like video views, because they know it's going to get a really good reach and a really probably a good engagement and a lot of video views for cheap. But it's not going to actually do the same thing. Like, the way Facebook works is it literally chooses people who it thinks will take that action. So you can't trick it by choosing a different objective sort of thing. So basically, if it says it's a traffic and you want traffic, then do that. If you want conversions, do that. If you want leads, then do that. Like, literally always choose the objective that you want, which I know sounds crazy. It sounds like really obvious, but it's not. And it is, people do really, really commonly use different ones because they think they want to like sort of play with the system or outsmart Facebook, or just try something different basically. But just choose the right one, and then that's your best bet. And if you've got lots of money to play with, then by all means do test different ones against each other. But if you're just starting out and you don't really know what to do, or you don't really have that much budget or time to play with, then just take the most straightforward one. The next thing I was going to say is don't overcomplicate things. So I advise everyone to do lots of testing always, but I'm not saying when you start out in one campaign, test 3 different images, 3 different copies, a headline, and a different call to action. Because if you tested all of those, you'd have to test about, I don't know, my maths doesn't go that far off the top of my head, but it would be how many different combinations would you get from those? It would just be absolutely loads. So you'd either have to have a huge budget, so running every single different combination at a time, or you'd have to do them all in, like, first test like 3 different images, so you'd have 3 ads, and then you'd do the copies after, so then it'd be like 3 separate ads for each copy with each image. Do you know what I mean? It just gets really complicated. So if you're just starting out, or if you're doing it yourself, if you want to be able to do it yourself, then just test one thing at a time. Keep it simple. Start with an image, because that's what grabs people's attention. That's what makes people stop scrolling. Once you think you've got the right results from your image, you know which one to use, then think about copy. Just do things one at a time. Keep it simple. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. And then it really does make it a lot easier for you to know to manage what you're doing, and sort of control your results from it. just when you don't really have that much experience or whatever. CBO, campaign budget optimization. This is the next one. This is something that Facebook's brought in fairly recently, and it is actually meant to help people have an easier job. So basically, if you set up your campaign, rather than having to set a different budget for each ad set, you just set it at the campaign level, and then Facebook actually looks at your audiences, it looks at your ads inside each ad set, and then it decides where to put your budget for you. So you don't have to be looking at different ad sets going, oh, that one's doing better than that one, I'm going to put more money in that. Facebook will actually do that for you. And so it's literally taking away a huge manual part of the job. There's times where you still don't want to do that. So if you're looking to do A/B testing, if you're trying to get some honest tests, you still should be setting the budget at ad set level so that it's a fair test. You don't want to be testing two things and then Facebook decide one of them's not good, so it only gives £7 and it gives the other one £13 if it was £20, for example. Sometimes you do need to still control that, but otherwise, if you're not really bothered and if you just want to get the best results, then you can just tick campaign budget optimization, CBO, and then Facebook will do all that thinking, all that working out for you. Really handy. Saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of effort, especially if you're not used to the interface and everything. Image editing was my next one. So when you're creating your campaigns and you've imported the image that you want to use, you can actually edit it right there from within the ad. So you can crop it, you can change the position of it if it's when you crop it and everything. So you don't need to use Photoshop, you don't need to use Canva unless you're actually creating a design. You can literally do that from inside Facebook, which is really handy. It means you've not got to go anywhere, it means you've not got to learn to use a new program. So yeah, really simple. And videos, and the same goes for that. If you've got a video on your phone and you want to upload it, but you just want to trim it, you can do that inside Facebook ads. You don't have to pay lots for Premiere Pro each month, so that you don't need professional software. You don't need to upload it into YouTube so that you can use their editor or anything. You can do it all in Facebook. You would still need to do your subtitles elsewhere. If you do, you should do subtitles, but you can do that in YouTube. There's a mosquito here that wants to eat me. So yeah, that's video. Another tip is just to ignore all the extra tools. There are so many different tools and things and options and buttons. If you're starting out, just literally leave everything on default apart from obviously the things you need to change, which are the objective, your audience, your budget, the time, your image, your copy, your call to action, your description, your headline. It sounds like a lot, but you're taking through it. But what I mean is, don't start getting into looking at details like bidding. You just don't look at bidding. Don't mess around with things like placements unless you only want your ad to show literally in the Facebook feed, the Instagram feed. Just leave it on default placements because it's going to cost you more money to mess around with it. And what data do you have already to say that you shouldn't be using the other placements? You probably haven't got any. So yeah, just ignore the extra tools. Keep it simple yourself. Don't make things more difficult for yourself, basically. And my final tip is to do with your actual, the idea behind your campaign, basically, which is don't confuse your audience. There's so many different ways you can show your ads. There's so many things that people are doing out there. There's so many clever tools you can use, so many different video things, that you can do. But if it's all singing and dancing, but it just doesn't have a really straightforward message for your audience, then it's useless. So yeah, just keep it straightforward, get to the point. What do you want your audience to know right now? What's going to make them want to work with you or listen to you or communicate with you? And just make sure that is the focal point of what you're doing, what your ad is, and don't overcomplicate it. And that is it. I was determined to have it really short, so less than 10 minutes. I hope you're all good, and I hope you like the new plants I've got hanging behind me. We bought them yesterday. They're I really like them. But yeah, I thought I'd just come on and do that. Lots of love to all of you. I'm going to go and enjoy my evening, and I hope you're well wherever you are. Lots of love.